How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Ring, the original novel by Koji Suzuki. This came out in 1991 and was the inspiration for the series of films, and also got 5 sequels in and of itself. And overall, if you've just seen the movies, it is different, and it's different in a very strange and interesting way. And I think when they adapted it, a lot of the choices that they made were good ideas, you know, to make it more horror-based and to cut a few things down so it flows a lot better. It works good in a movie, and what The Ring, the novel, does works good in a novel. I think it's a good class in how you can change things when you adapt stuff and make it work for different mediums. But if you've only seen the film, get ready for some really interesting and different stuff. Primarily, yes, Ring the novel does have horror elements, but we can see with the movie and then later with the American adaptation that each adaptation pushed it farther and farther into horror, when the original novel was much more of a supernatural mystery, and it was a lot of reporters doing detective work, and even things like finding out that there is a cursed videotape takes a while to get to. But we also get a ton more of Sadako's backstory, which is super interesting. And I definitely say check this one out. It's like doing a super deep dive into the world of Ring, and I really did like it. But I guess in order to talk further, let's talk a little bit about the plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, and I'll try to keep this relatively brief, but I do want to analyze a little further, but I will be steering clear of the ending. Anyway, we meet our main character, Asakawa, and he's this guy who's a reporter, and he had a niece who died of her heart stopping, which was super strange because she's really young and shouldn't be having heart problems like that. Well, one day, quite by chance, he gets in a taxi cab, and the cabbie tells a story of the guy on a motorcycle who died the exact same day, in the exact same way, and he was about the same age as Asakawa's niece. Well, he does a little digging and finds that 4 people that all probably knew each other, that were all about the same age, all died of their heart stopping at the exact same time. And that's the thing that kickstarts the book. The idea that, can something supernatural and strange like this really happen? Is there an actual real supernatural threat? And that's when he does a lot of digging. And again, a lot of digging and a lot of detective legwork to find out that the last place all 4 of them were together was at this cabin retreat. He goes there and he finds a mysterious videotape full of strange and surreal images, and the promise that you'll die in 7 days if you don't do something. Turns out those kids decided it would be a super funny prank if they taped over the thing you had to do to not die, because they don't believe it's real, right? Well, now they died, now Asakawa saw the tape, and now he doesn't know what the special thing he's supposed to do is, and in turn, he has to look at the pieces of the tape, figure out what each segment means, and piece together the life of the person who made the tape. And yeah, we have to go a good ways into the book before we even get a reference to a haunted videotape. And I do like that for the book. I do like the legwork and the revelation, but when you do a movie, yeah, just open up with, there's a cursed videotape, you know, cut to the chase, you only got 90 minutes here. But again, one of the biggest strengths of the book is the detective work and how much work you have to do to solve the mystery and how you piece everything together. It's so satisfying. But then finally learning about Sadako, like, she is so fleshed out in the book. You understand her backstory, you understand her life as a psychic, and all the terrible things that happened to her, and you don't even really get to know everything, because there is some points of the story where you had to be like, why did she do that, or what was her motivation there? And you really get to think and puzzle and piece it all together. It's super interesting, and it's really something to talk about. Now, another thing that they did change for the movie is the reporter in here. You know, it's a guy originally, but they do talk about that sort of cold business culture with him. For example, he has a wife and kid, but we don't really know much about him for the first part of the book. And early on, he uses the wife and kid to investigate the niece, and in turn he has to pretend to be more affectionate than he actually is. And his wife calls him on this and says, "What are you doing being affectionate?" But as the curse goes on, as you get this ticking timer, and as he realizes he's closer and closer to death, you start to see his wife and kids be so much more important in his thoughts. And it's a really cool, interesting bit of character development. The biggest change from the movie would have to be the character of Ryuji. In the movie, that's her ex-husband, but in the book, it's an old high school friend. And Ryuji is like tough and cocky, and he's not afraid of breaking the rules. He would be a fun, likable character, except Ryuji has a dark secret. It turns out why these two met is because Asakawa was kind of the quiet nerd, and Ryuji used that to confide in him a secret. Turns out he committed an act of sexual assault, and Asakawa was the only person he told, and him, I guess, not knowing what to do or what to say, kind of became the bearer of the secret, and they kind of bound the two together. Needless to say, that's pretty dark, and it makes Ryuji pretty unlikable. There is more to this, and there is something the author is trying to say here. There is, for example, a creepy scene where he talks about the first time he did it and how the world seemed to let him, like a door that should have been locked was just mysteriously unlocked this one time. That's creepy and dark. And also, at the end of the book, there's one more revelation for this plot, and I absolutely will not spoil it, but it turns this whole thing on his head, and you start to wonder, well, gee, what did that all mean? And yeah, it is definitely smart to cut this element from the movie, and obviously movie Ryuji is way more likable than the book one, but there is something here and there is something to analyze, so I would say, even though it is a super dark element, read through the book and then try to analyze what the author was trying to say here, because I think there is something. But overall, when we look at Ring the book, there is a whole lot to unpack. It's a super dense book with a whole lot going on and a whole lot that isn't 100% explained, but also so many little pieces that you don't get in the movie, like how Sadako would learn this skill that would enable her to make the tape. And also Sadako has a pretty big secret as well that does add something really interesting to her character, but again, I'm trying to talk around spoilers here. Even the title, Ring, has a different meaning in the novel when compared to the movie. There's a ton of ideas and a lot to unpack in this book, and if you've only seen the movie, read the book and see a super expanded alternate version of this story. It is really interesting. Overall, I can definitely recommend it. And from what I gather, these sequels only get stranger from here, and I'm all down for that. So I hope to get to the other ones soon, or at least the ones that are translated into English. Apparently that last book is taking a while. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my books playlist where you can see me talk about other books. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.